normal microbial flora. However, these includes also bacteria, fungi, archaea, viruses, and protozoans as well. And bacteria can be normally found growing on the skin and is a respiratory tract and a digestive tract of the healthy human body. So if you'll see here, this is the digestive system of a normal human body, and we'll try to understand how normal microbial flora of the gut intestinal tract are associated with. You see the gastrointestinal tract is consist of this stomach region, and the small intestine is the small intestine region. This is it also subdivided into several parts, and this is the large intestine region that is divided into colon. So starting from the esophagus or the stomach, the small intestine and the large intestine, we can find the presence of different microflora and bacteria in these intestinal tract. And in the majority of cases, we all know about the presence of Escherichia coli and Helicobacter pylori. And this bacteria do stomach ulcer and do piles in a human, and it is a very strong pathogenic bacteria. Also, we find Enterococci, Lactobacilli, and you can find Bacteroides, Clostridium, Enterobacteria, Klebsiella, and Staphylococcus. These are a few of the common microflora or bacteria we can find in our digestive tract, and more specifically the Helicobacter, and Helicobacter is very much dangerous for us. And most bacteria cannot grow in the intestine due to very low pH. So here in the stomach, we everybody know the stomach hydrochloric acid gets secreted in the stomach, and that lead to lower down the pH of the intestine. Due to the low pH, microbial flora find it very difficult to grow, and that's why this intestine is protected by infection of several other microbial floras. However, Helicobacter pylori still can grow in the stomach of some people and cause gastric ulcer disease. So this Helicobacter pylori is very dangerous bacteria, and that still grow in the this intestine and cause the gastric ulcer disease in human. Intestinal pH subsequently increases along the small intestine, and bacterial number increases near the ileum. So as you know, hydrochloric acid secreted here, so pH will be very low here, and as we subsequently come down, the pH can gradually get increased because the concentration of HCl get subsequently less, and therefore the pH get increased. And In the ileum region, the bacterial population get increased as the pH gets drastically reduced. And also the concentration of oxygen also get decreased down the intestine. So how a Helicobacter pylori do disease in human intestine and digestive tract. So you see this is the stomach and this is the duodenum, and if you will see this is the mucosa lining and this is the submucosa layer, and this is the muscles. And upon growth of this Helicobacterium pylori, they do this kind of ulcer and in the intestinal tract, and you can see their growth here also, and they damage the mucosal lining and do ulcer in the intestine and stomach. And Helicobacter pylori is a gram-negative bacterium, and it is a microaerophiles. So you know about microaerophiles. I have taught you people what is microaerophiles. These are the bacteria which grow in the micro oxygen environment. I mean, they need very less oxygen for their growth. And this Helicobacter pylori was discovered in 1982 by Australian scientist Barry Marshall and Robin Warren. And this gastric ulcer caused by Helicobacter pylori have been implicated with duodenal ulcers and stomach cancer. So this duodenal ulcer, sometimes we find ulcer in the duodenum, and this stomach cancer is usually caused by Helicobacter pylori. But 80% of individuals infected with the Helicobacter pylori are asymptomatic. So you need to understand that even if around 80% of people who has infection with Helicobacter pylori are asymptomatic. They usually don't show any symptom, and but still Helicobacter pylori stay there and continue to inhibit. It's a life cycle. And the colon, the intestinal colon contain many types of bacteria, and why they are what is the requirement? Because bacteria feed on products of the digestion of food. So they usually use the digested food and also help in digestion of food in our intestine. And many of these bacteria attached to the intestinal wall. So these bacteria usually attach to the inner lining of the intestinal walls, and you can see the scanning electron micrograph of bacteria attached to the mouse intestinal wall. So you can see all these bacteria. These are attached to the intestine wall, and these are anaerobic bacteria in the colons. So in the previous slide we talked about microaerophile. This Helicobacter pylori need little bit of oxygen, but several anaerobic bacteria also grow in the intestinal wall. And the colon acts as a specialized fermentation vessel that contain many anaerobic bacteria. So the intestinal colon act as a specialized fermentation vessel that contain many anaerobic bacteria. Because in our intestine, usually we don't have oxygen, because our oxygen go through this respiratory tract to the lungs and distributed throughout the body and supply oxygen to the cell. But our intestinal colon, it's a empty vessel, fermentation vessel, and oxygen don't go to the intestine. So our intestine is an anoxic or anaerobic environment, and only facultative anaerobes such as Escherichia coli consume all oxygen from the intestine, which promotes the growth of obligate anaerobes such as Clostridium and Bacteroides. So in the absence of oxygen, the obligate anaerobes such as Clostridium and Bacteroides, bacteroids grow in the intestinal column. So here we see how bacteria localize in the intestinal colon in the mucous membrane. So here you can see these are the microbial cells and this is the mucous membrane. So they are growing on the mucous membrane, and these are the epithelial cells. And here these microbial cells are loosely associated. They're dispersed, and here they get attached. This you can see attached with the tissue layer, and later they invasion into the submucosal epithelium. So once they get attached, later they subsequently made invasion to the tissue layer, and like this they enter into the inside of the tissue from the mucosal membrane or epithelial layers. And this led to the generation of pathogenicity. Then once they enter into this tissue layer, then they will start to act for their pathogenic potential. And I would like to ask all of you to put your ID number for your attendance. Those who have not provided it yet, please put your ID number so that I can note for your attendance. So, what is the function of an intestinal flora? So, bacteria live in a symbiotic relationship with our bodies. Symbiotic. So, do you know anybody of what is the meaning of symbiosis? Hello.
Yes, doctor. What?
Maybe that's me when some
Yes. What is
positive feedback. I don't know.
What is the meaning of symbiotic? Anybody know? Do you know anybody?
Yes, doctor. This benefic relationship
Okay. Okay, that's
between
nice.
the bacteria and the human body. By the our
It's a
body is
host.
the
It's a host.
yeah.
Yeah. So, what is the benefit? I mean, bacteria find its a host. The body is a host for the bacteria, and whatever food or mineral nutrient we consume, bacteria use from our cell. So it get benefit from us. So what we get from bacteria? So bacteria sometimes synthesize some vitamins and all these vitamins, this growth regulator we studied in our previous topic. So these vitamins are released by bacteria, and our body use those vitamins for our own system. So these are a typical give and take relationships. Symbiotic relationship is like this. So we provide them food, and they provide us with vitamins and protect us against pathogens. So if we take vitamins, our immunity will be very strong. These vitamins act as a cofactor in a different enzyme. As I already told you people about enzyme and cofactor, how they act. So you see, the human body, we took the food and nutrients, and bacteria use them. Then it metabolized. Then it synthesizes its vitamins, and from that vitamin, it enhances the immunity of the body, and also lead to antimicrobial protection against other microbes. Okay, so this is how a symbiotic relationship works. So sometimes what happens, bacteria ferment carbohydrate that has kept proximal digestion and produce nutrient for the human body. So the bacteria cell also ferment carbohydrate type of food that are left indigested by the intestinal digestive juice, and help to produce nutrient for the human body. And the bacteria in the colon, such as bacteroids and enterobacteria, digest indigestible oligosaccharides. So when we use this fibrous food, this sometimes this fibrous food is not digestible in the intestine, and these bacterioids and enterobacteria do help us to digest this oligosaccharide kind of foods. And this result in the synthesis of some short chain fatty acids such as butyrate, propionate, and acetate, which are rich source of energy for the host. So this nutrient metabolism leads to ferment carbohydrate kind of foods and fibrous foods, and also synthesis of short chain fatty acids that provide source as energy to the host, and always host is this human. We're learning about human. So here you can see indigestible complex food, and this is bacteria, and they break down this indigestible food to small metabolites. They break down into small parts. So you can see bacteria also synthesize vitamin K and vitamin B12. We already know this, that bacteria synthesize vitamin complex and vitamin K. Bacterioids in our gut synthesize conjugate linoleic acid, which has anti-diabetic and immunomodulatory properties. You see, bacteroids synthesize linoleic acid, which has anti-diabetic and immunomodulatory properties. And bacteria in our gut are responsible for increasing the concentration of pyruvic acid, citric acid, fumaric acid, and malic acid in our blood serum. So these pyruvic acid, citric acid, fumaric acid concentration in our blood get managed by the bacteria as well. So again, this same sketch graph you can find and the role of the bacteria. So in addition to vitamins, bacteria also synthesized some other compounds such as carbon dioxide, methane, hydrogen gas, H2O gas, H2S. In addition to synthesis of vitamins, bacteria also synthesize carbon dioxide and methane gas, hydrogen gas, and also our intestine. In our intestine, we get this H2S, hydrogen sulfide, NH3, amines, indole, skatol, and butyric acid. So and all these different gases and odors are being synthesized by different group of bacteria present in the intestinal flora of the human gut. The intestinal gut microbiota has shown to induce synthesis of antimicrobial proteins such as cathelicidins. So several bacteria induce the synthesis of antimicrobial proteins. For example, few bacteria synthesize some proteins, and those proteins inhibit the growth of some other microbes. This is called antimicrobial. Do you know the meaning of antimicrobials? Hello?
Yes,
Yes, teacher.
Those who don't know the meaning of antimicrobials, please tell me. I will repeat again. Do I need to repeat, or all of you know this? What is the meaning of antimicrobials?
we know it, Mister.
We know.
Okay, that is good. So antimicrobial is basically deals with the inhibition of growth of certain microbial species due to the presence of microbial species. So few microbes synthesize some protein which inhibit the growth of other kind of microbes in the media or in the intestine or any places of their growth where they are intended to. And these antimicrobial proteins, a few of them are cathelicidins, C-type lectins, and defensin. And lactobacillus produce lactic acid, which disrupt the outer membrane of the bacterial cell wall, allowing the body to kill other bacterial strains. So when we use lactobacillus, this is little bit acid producing bacteria. So when there is lactobacillus in the intestine, this bacteria disrupt the outer membrane of other bacterial cell wall and make them kill. The growth of bacterial flora also limit the growth of harmful pathogen. So when there is a growth of bacterial flora, it limits the growth of other harmful pathogens due to high competition for food and release of compounds that kill harmful bacteria. So when there are several bacteria in the intestine or in the growth media, so there is always a competition between them. So who will strive here? So they try to outcompete each other, and they release their compounds to the media, and they kill other bacteria. But the compound that released from the same bacteria is not harmful to them. And when do humans get their gut microbiota? So it's human acquire gut bacteria immediately after birth from their environment. So when someone get birth, immediately they get their microbiota from the surrounding environment, and these children get their gut bacteria from mother's milk, and the diversity of the gut microbiota starts low and increase with time. So when there is infant, the gut microbiota is very less, and upon the progress of time, the gut microbiota increases, because due to the lack of sufficient gut microbiota, you will find sometimes that a newborn baby, when they do toilet, those are sometimes not digested, the milk are not digested, and they also continuously vomit the milk, and you will find like small precipitate like things when they vomit, because due to lack of proper microbiota, the milk they had for their food remain indigested. So that's why it happens in the kids like this. And by the progress of time, the number and diversity of gut microbiota get increased, and it reaches 40% of adult diversity by the age of 3. So by the age of 3, human intestine gets approximately 40% of the total gut microbiota. So what are the factors that affect gut microbiota? One is diet. So children which drink mother's milk have a different microbiota than those fed with formula milk. Formula milk means the milk that we purchase from supermarket and give kids for drinking. So if you will compare a kid having natural milk from mother and milk from supermarket, and if you will check the gut microbiota, there will be different gut microbiota. You will find different gut microbiota. The gut microbiota will not be same. And people who eat diet rich in fruits have different microbiota from people who eat diet rich in animal protein. So the people who eat fruits, vegetables in large quantities and more frequently have different microbiota than people who eat rich in animal protein, for example, meat, egg, and all these things. So people who eat fruit have different microbiota than the people who eat meat. And the use of antibiotics can dramatically reduce the diversity of our gut microbiota. So when people get infected with certain diseases, doctor prescribe them antibiotics, and when we take the antibiotics, lot of gut microbiota get die. And due to that antibiotic, several good microbiota also get die along with the bad microbiota. So when these good microbiota get died, our body suffer from getting vitamins. So therefore, when there will be any prescription of antibiotic by doctor should prescribe vitamins along with the antibiotic. Otherwise, this body will not get any vitamins, and the enzymatic reaction and metabolism of body will go slow down, and it will not react or act very efficiently the way it should supposed to be. Therefore, anybody at any time get antibiotic prescription, the doctor should prescribe vitamins, and in case sometimes doctor not give vitamins, they should prescribe for some this healthy drinks which are rich in microbiota. And if there will be stoppage of antibiotics, this some harmful bacteria such as Salmonella typhimurium and Clostridium difficile they immediately start grow. So the role of antibiotic is very eminent in the growth of microbiota in our intestinal column or in our body. So how you can measure the number and the number of microbiota and their diversity in the gastrointestinal column? So in a simple, it need to collect some stool sample and isolate 16S ribosomal RNA from the sample and put them for sequencing. After sequencing, you just a result will give you the kind of and quantity of mini bacteria strain in your sample. So by using this procedure, this collection of stool sample and isolating ribosomal RNA and sequencing them will give you a report about the number and diversity of different gastrointestinal bacteria, or this is also in short called as metagenome profiling sometimes. And gut microbiota can be studied using a sample of human feces. And gut microflora is composed of over 35,000 bacterial species. So in our intestine, we can find more than 35,000 bacterial species. And in traditional culture technique cannot measure the diversity of bacteria in the gut. So through the bacterial culture, or we cannot culture all of them, and only we can know through this sequencing technology. Therefore, ribosomal 16S RNA is used to identify the diversity of bacteria using next generation sequencing approach. And normal microbial flora of the skin. So skin is the epidermal layer of our body, and it's not suitable for bacterial growth because always our skin is very dry, and we know that for a proper bacterial growth it need a very good temperature and humidity and pH condition and nutrient supply, and bacteria cannot grow in the dry environment. And most of the skin bacteria are associated with sweat gland, which are found in the underarms and genitals region and other places. So these sweat glands where we always used to have sweating, this bacteria used to grow because they get proper humidity. For example, in our underarm and under skin, this sebaceous gland of our this hair. We always get a lot of sweat from our head, and all those regions, this bacteria grow very well. And skin bacteria also grow in the sebaceous glands, which contain the hair follicles. So under our this hair follicles, there is sebaceous gland, and it's a very good place for the bacteria to grow because it get lot of humidity. And you see, this is the dry layer. The bacterial growth is very less, and this is the sebaceous gland, and this is the hair follicle. And due to the humid condition, bacteria easily can grow in this region. This is sebaceous gland region. And this is a skin bacteria. And most of the skin bacteria are gram-positive, and due to their ability to live in dry conditions. So some of the bacteria did able to grow and live in the dry condition as well, and they are usually gram-positive bacteria. And these skin bacteria include Acinetobacter, Enterobacter, Klebsiella, Propionibacterium, Pseudomonas, and Staphylococcus. So how Propionibacterium acne happens? So you see, this kind of acne will be developed due to the presence of Propionibacterium. And these are gram-positive bacteria, and it also grows in sebaceous glands under the skin and feeds on fatty acid and other substance. So they get their food from fatty acids and other substances, and it releases enzymes that degrade the skin protein. So this Propionibacterium release some enzyme to the environment, and it degrades the skin protein, which activates the immune system, causing immune reaction. When this bacteria release enzyme, degrade our skin, you see how it degrades, and it activates our immune system, and that leads to immune reaction, that is redness. And we have finished here about this human flora. And if you have any question, please ask me. Hello? Is it clear to everyone?
Yes, doctor. No question.
Yes, doctor.
Okay.
Doctor,
Yes.
you record
the lecture. Register the lecture.
Yes.
Why you don't send it to us?
You need this? You need this lecture? I will
Yes,
upload it.
this lecture and the past lecture.
Okay, okay. I will upload it.
Send it please through email or Moodle.
Okay, 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 okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you.
Doctor,
Yes.
we want the review of exam answers to know where we have a mistake.
Sorry?
We want the review of the exam answer.
One
Review.
question from chapter 5.
لحظة
Yes,
التدريب. Doctor,
Yes.
I mean, we want to know where is the mistake we have in exam. So we want the review of answer.
Okay, 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 okay.
You understand me?
So you need to get the detailed answer and where you did mistake. Is not it?
Yes.
Okay. So I will
There is in the model there is a place for check the answer if it is correct or not.
yes.
But you did not let us to see it.
No, how I can give it before examination? So it was not given before examination.
Doctor,
Yes.
you give us the question about scientist that is not included in the 4 chapters.
No, 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 no. You are not correct. You should be very clear about when you are complaining. Okay. Why I will give such kind of question?
Okay, we want to see the.
A lot of people has made correct answer and how it's not for you.
Okay, we want to see
Mr.
the
Yusuf.
mistake in the quiz.
See, I am teaching you and I cannot do mistake, okay? So before you making any complaint, please be clear 100% that what you are saying is absolutely correct. And more specifically, this is examination and hardly there will be any mistake.
Okay, doctor. Then open
Sometimes-
the review of the quiz.
Yes, sometimes it can happen that you may get confused. You may get confused. I gave in very simple question for you. If I would be putting a tricky question, I can think it's a simple. All the question was simple, direct.
Doctor, there is the assignment.
Oh, doctor, no problem.
And there is no assignment. No.
When will be
About
the midterm,
midterm.
doctor? When will be the midterm, doctor?
I don't know now. And the department will decide. I will get a message or I will discuss with the department. I will update you.
Okay, doctor, we can leave the lecture.
Okay, okay, yeah, sure.
Mister,
Yes.
please check about question about exam.
Yes, please.
It is discover about the science, not included in the chapter 4 and 1 2. It is included in lecture 5. Because
Yes.
lecture 5 is not included in quiz.
Yes, Mr. You say include only lecture 1 to lecture 4. Why give the question in lecture 5?
Sorry.
Mister, you
Yes.
say the quiz include in lecture 1 to lecture 4, okay? But the sciences in lecture 5, the question in the sciences. Why
No,
including in the quiz?
no, it's not like that. When we are going ahead with a lot of study, how I will leave something. When we discussed that part, it was up to that point when the lecturer was completed. Okay, and and rather than making complaint, I will show you here. You see, it is Varghese manual. The name is Varghese here. The topic,
Okay, Mister, this lecture 5.
the topic is started. The whole topic, and even you don't remember the topic, it is not my mistake. Okay.
This in lecture 5, Mister.
So
Yes, doctor. Lecture 5.
This lecture 5, but you say not include in lecture 5.
so why
Doctor, you said.
Yes, doctor, you told us one chapter and 2 chapter 3 and 4.
Yes, only 1 to 4. But this question include in lecture 5. Why?
Yes, doctor, like that.
no. See, when you are told that when you will make on that time up to the chapter that is completed was supposed to be taken for the quiz. But when we extend our study, it's supposed to be there. You cannot say that when we finished 4 chapter, okay, when we finish 4 chapter, the quiz could have 4 chapter. When you finish 5 chapter, the quiz will be 5 chapter. Okay.
Doctor, this is not our mistake.
No, it's no. There is nothing any mistake or correct. You are learning. I have studied you, and you are supposed to give answer.
Just we study 4 lecture.
Doctor, give us one mark.
You did mistake.
It
You
is
did
a bonus for all students.
No, did
Yes,
you?
doctor, yes.
Yes, Mister, because
no.
this your problem, not problem.
You are.
Yes,
What I can
mister.
say.
Please, doctor, only one.
But this is
Yes,
automatic.
doctor.
This is automatically added in Moodle. I don't have.
Okay, no problem. Just delete and give for all students the bonus. No problem, mister.
Mister, you can change the mark in model.
No, I cannot change.
Doctor, please.
Okay, Mister.
No problem, doctor.
Okay, Mister.
Only change it in your system.
Okay, Joy. If you have any this kind of query, you can also write me individually. It will be better. I can reply you individually. Okay.